All right, so we have the side of the car. We're going to go ahead and start a new object. And we're going to line this up with the front of the car. And I'm going to go ahead and add the same material that I used for this piece. Right, it's material 003, alpha is 0.180 or whatever. So I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to move this up just a little bit, and then go back to my projection right on the Z. Now you can get here, it shows you the shortcut is F3, so you can do F3, F2 goes to X, F1 goes to Y. We don't need those right now, but they may be useful in the future. So right now F3. And we want this to be as centered on the car as we can get it. Because unlike the side, where we're making just one side, technically this is both sides of the car, right? We're going to have to flip it and mirror it. The top of the car has that same mirror. It's the same on this side as it is on the other. So the first thing we want to do is just come into our edit, our object mode, and we want to cut our car in half. It doesn't have to be exact, but close. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do my technique where I start with a box and then I get all of the detail just by adding edge loops. One, this gives you a little bit more control over the edge loops as you're trying to extrude step by step. It is easier to get things to line up that way, but you might end up with more edge loops than you want. So what I'm going to do is just start with this big box, and then I'm going to come in and insert edge loops where I think they should go. So one thing we haven't done up to this point, if you click on an edge loop and drag, or if you click to insert an edge loop and drag, then you can change where that edge loop goes. So here I'm going to click and drag. I really need one right on the hood of the car, right there. I've got one in the middle of the hood. I'm going to put one kind of at the front of the window here, put one right on the back window, put another one at the bottom of the back window, and I think that's a good start. So remember when we were working on the side of the car, we weren't worried about this portion, which we knew was the top. When we're working on the top of the car, we know we already have everything from here down kind of modeled that is the front of the car, and we're only worried about the actual hood. So there can be some designation between where your hood starts and ends. If we come back to the other object, it's possible that all of these vertexes, and actually likely, that all of these vertexes, select, probably need to be moved down, kind of to be more in line with the side of the car. It looks like maybe the side of the car is closer to right here. So probably move those in line with the side of the car, which I didn't have before. And then I'll come and work on the top. So now again, very generic. I'm just going to move the vertexes to be in line with what I consider to be the top of the car. And this goes from the hood all the way up. So I think that it's probably this line here. And then go ahead and just move all of these into place where I think they go. And this is a little bit subjective, right? Like, it's not 100% exact where things are going to go, but it's close. And I think that I can focus these a little bit in because I think that this here is kind of the back fender, which we'll be making later. So that's kind of the gist of the top. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on getting the exact shape right now in the video because it's the same process as we used on the other. I'm just going to add in some of these, and then all I'm doing is coming through and just shaping these guys to fit along the contour of my hood. and everything's a little bit of cleanup after that, but the idea is the same as we did on the front of the car, just trying to kind of get those contoured shapes together so that everything can flow smoothly. And like I said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time getting this down exactly. But what we're going to do after we get it in place, and this is going to be kind of the hard part, is we have these two objects. We're going to go ahead and try and get these so that they're oriented in the right direction. So we know that if this is the side of the car, then the top of the car needs to be rotated 90 degrees. So we're going to come in and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees exactly, or I guess in this case negative 90 degrees. And once you rotate it, you get the angle to pop up, so negative 90. And I think that's going to be right. Yeah. So then we want to take the car roof and move it over, and I'm going to come back to the Z direction, right? And I want to move the car roof to exactly where it's supposed to be, lined up with the roof of the car. Now, obviously, this isn't right, yeah? So it needs to line up and meet with the car itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my top view and my side view, both. Just those two, and I am going to join them together. And then I can go into edit mode. And this looks kind of janky, right? It's a little bit confusing as to where everything is. But I have an idea that this is one group and this is another group. So I'm going to select groups of vertexes. And I'm going to try to kind of move them down where I think they should be on this shape. And again, a lot of it is subjective, so don't stress out too much over the exactitude of it. And I'm doing this in my perspective view. Sometimes it's going to be good to come through and track it again on the actual side view. Give me 1 second. All right, so forgive me, I had to step out for a minute. So what we're doing here, we're arranging, again, looking primarily in this Z view. We're going to be arranging all of these vertexes that we have to be kind of in line with where they're supposed to be. We want to make sure we select them all when we do. So sometimes you are going to have to rotate your screen and then come back to the Z to make sure you have everything selected that you're supposed to have, because sometimes if you just select one vertex, then you're not getting everything that you want. So select them all, go back to the Z, and again, you can use just Control F3. Will pop to the Z-axis. So you're getting it lined up. Now, you'll notice as you do this, and I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of them lined up kind of where they're supposed to go. The important thing is to only move them at this point up and down. Don't try and move them to line up with anything, because you've already lined them up with the actual top of the car where the points are supposed to be. So you don't want to move them left and right. You've already got that part established. So right now you're just moving them kind of where you can. Now, and you'll notice that you have extra verts along the way that don't necessarily connect. What you're going to have to do in this case is come in and just add in extra edge loops to line up with the vertices. So you want to make sure that you have the same number of verts on the top of your car as you do on the side of your car. And again, the side has a little bit more detail, so it's probably going to be a little bit, that's probably going to be kind of your default. Like the side is going to be where you're getting the number of vertexes from. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to go ahead and put in all of mine here. And then I'll start arranging stuff. So I'm going to come back to my kind of perspective view, I guess. And I have the side of my car and I have the top of my car. I'm going to go to object mode to begin with, and I'm just going to kind of get rid of the image plane. And I'm going to do that by working in my materials and turning my alpha down to 0. I guess I could turn it down to 0.33 so I can still see it there. But the important thing for me right now is I want the top of my car to come down and line up with the side of my car. And right now they're not exactly perfect because the side of my car is flat, and we know that the sides of the car are not flat. There is some contour to them, and the same with the top. But we want to get them kind of close. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these two together. So I've got object mode, I'm going to object and join. And then when I come to edit mode, I'll be able to see all of these vertexes working together. And what I want to do is just start merging verts. So I'm still trying to kind of create this car shape. And I'm just going to merge all of these verts together pretty much one at a time. So we'll do that by going to mesh and merge. And I'm going to merge them all at the center. Just to kind of go through and create that initial contour that I want. And I'm not going to pause this because it's not going to take too long. Oops. Probably longer than it should. Actually, I am going to pause it. I'm just going to go ahead and merge all of these out. Alright, so I've got everything connected, and if I'm looking around, it's starting to take the shape of a car, but of course all the contours are wrong. So what I'm going to do is go back to object mode and come back to my image plane and turn the alpha back up so I can see it. And I want to get my car here oriented so that I can see kind of the front of the car. And again, I'm working at this in the Z plane. And I got to remember which side is the front, and I think it's here. So we've got the front there, and then I'm going to merge it, bring it over to the actual front of the car. Now, you can see the generic shape actually lines up pretty well with the shape of the car. But what we're going to have to do when we come in is, well, I've messed something up here. Okay, so here's the car. I'm going to rotate it. There we go. And looking back at the Z, make sure it's rotated in the right direction. So here. There we go. Yeah, and then move it over. So I think this is right. I'm going to rotate it around and make sure. Yeah. So I had it backwards before, but this is correct. So the front of the car is here in the front. And what I want to do is, again, the generic shape is okay. But what I want to do is come to the car, go to edit mode, and I only have 30 seconds left on this video. So I'll do this in the next video. I'm just going to line the shape of the car up as best I can. See you in the next video.